Okay, rotations. I'm gonna do a couple different ways to do rotations. This one, I'm gonna say, we're just gonna look at the rules on this one. So this is rotations, but we're mostly gonna look at the rules, not so much the graphs. So a rotation is a transformation in which a figure is rotated or turned about a fixed point. The center of rotation is the fixed point, and for you guys, it's usually the origin. The pre-image and the image are congruent, so the size and shape of the figure doesn't change. So 90 degrees clockwise, which is the same as 270 counterclockwise. Okay, so 270 or 90 degrees clockwise, that means one turn to the right, and that's the same as saying 1, 2, 3 turns to the left. Okay, and what changes there, it starts at x, y, and the x and y values flip, and your x becomes negative. For 180, clockwise, counterclockwise are the same because it's just complete opposites. If you say somebody just did a total 180, they've completely changed. They're the opposite of what they were before. So it's either 1, 2 turns to the right, or 1, 2 turns to the left, same thing. And look at your rule, look at what happens. It's the exact opposite of whatever was going on. So x and y now become negative x and negative y. And so even if, say, your starting x and y values were negative, x, negative y, that means these are still going to change. It's going to be the opposite. And what's the opposite of the negatives? Positive. Okay? And then 270 clockwise is the same as 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's going to be going 90 degrees counter. That would be one turn to the left, or hold on, wait. Starting here. One turn to the left, or it would be 1, 2, 3 turns to the right for clockwise. Remember, clockwise turns to the right, counterclockwise to the left. And so this rule, I like to remember it, if we write these down, so I say clockwise, counterclockwise, and I'm going to write these all down. So 90 degrees, which is the same as 270 counter, 180 and 180, 270, which is 90 counter. Okay, and how I remember it, or I make people write it down because it's one way to remember it. Not saying you have to memorize these rules, but this is something that you can use if you think that this is easier than just looking at the graphs. And I write flip, don't flip. And so what that means is for the 90 degrees and the 270 degree turns, if you look back up here at the rules, your x and your y flip places. Okay, so for 90 degrees clockwise, it goes to y and x, they flip, and your x becomes negative. On the 180s, they don't flip, so they stay x and y. The only thing that changes is this sign in front. So if it was negative, it becomes positive. If it's positive, it becomes negative. And then on the last one, since the last one is a 270, 90 degrees, it's gonna flip. So it's y and x, and the y becomes negative. Okay? That's the only thing. Flip, don't flip. If you can remember that, write this chart down a million times and then you'll have it memorized. But just remember, flip, don't flip. So if it's 90 or 270, the y and the x are gonna have switched places. Okay? 90 degrees clockwise, the x value changes. 270 degrees clockwise, the y value changes. Okay? Because remember, on your coordinate plane, if you going to the right is positive, going up is positive, left negative, down negative. So if you have a point in quadrant 1, it's going to be a positive and a positive. If you have a point in quadrant 2, it's going to be negative, positive, negative, negative in 3, and positive, negative in 4. Okay. Okay, refer to GHI in example 2. So I got rid of example 2, but I'm going to say we've got our triangle GHI, and actually I'm just going to write points down. So we'll say that G is 5, -4, H is 4, -5, and I is 2, 2. So we're going to use these rules we just wrote down. So 180 clockwise, remember the only thing that changes is the sign in front. They don't flip. So G becomes -5, +4, H is -4, +5, and I becomes -2, -2. For 270, remember these are going to flip. 270 counterclockwise is the same as 90 clockwise. So I'm going to look at this first rule. So they flip, and then your X value becomes negative. So G becomes, we're going to flip -4 and 5. So -4 and 5, but that 5, the sign in front's going to change, so now it's negative. Same thing with H. Now it's -5, and instead of +4, -4. Same thing with I, +2, now it's -2. So take a second and look at that and make sure you understand that that's what's happening. The X value is changing. Okay, so for these we're going to graph the rotation that's being asked and label the new vertices. So I went ahead and wrote the rules up here. So take a second and write these on your paper also, just so you can use these. So number 3, 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. So first of all, we know we're going to go clockwise, so that's to the right. So that means we're going to be in this quadrant, okay? And this point, this dot that they gave us is at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3, 4 is my original point. Okay, and so that would be, it's going to be a positive number and a negative number. So 3, 4 is my original. Come back up here and look at your rule. So 90 degrees clockwise is where it flips, okay? So 3, 4 is now going to turn into 4, whoop. It's going to turn into 4, 3, and then what else happens? Your X value, your original X value, in this case is 3, becomes negative, okay? Same thing on number 4, 180 degrees clockwise. So that's going to be 1, 2 turns, so it's going to be over here. So it should be negative, negative. And then what's your point? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 4, 6 is our original, and so they don't flip. Coming back and looking at our rule, it doesn't flip, but the only thing that changes is the sign in front of our numbers, our X and our Y. So instead of +4, +6, now it becomes -4, -6. And then number 5, 270 clockwise. So clockwise, we're going to the right, and that's 1, 2, 3 turns around your origin. Okay, and this point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's my point. It's gonna be negative, positive. And what's our rule for 270 clockwise? So they flip. So instead of -6 and 3, it's going to be 3, 6, -6, sorry, and your Y value becomes negative, or the sign in front changes. So -3, -6. Number 6, 90 degrees counterclockwise, so that's to the left, and that's 90 degrees, so that's just 1 turn. And I'm going to label A, B, and C. So original A, original B, and original C. Okay, so those are your original coordinates, 90 degrees counterclockwise. So come back up and look at that rule. So they flip, and your X becomes negative, or just the sign in front changes. So they're gonna flip. So 6, 3, counterclockwise, so our y value, the first number, is going to change. So -6, -3. So for B, if I flip them around, so 2, -1, and that 2 becomes negative. C, they flip around, so it's going to be 2, -2, but then that +2 changes the sign in front. 7, 180 degrees, and so I'm going to label these A, B, C. So out to the side, original A, B, C. A is at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4. B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And C is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. And 180 just means the signs in front change, they don't flip. So 2, 4 becomes -2. -4, 6, 6 becomes -6, -6, and C becomes -6, -2. And 270 counterclockwise. So 1, 2, 3. Not -1, just negative. And we'll label these the same, A, B, and C. C. So the rule up here, we're going to flip those. Ooh, meant to highlight. And then your original y value becomes negative. So 5 and 1 now becomes 1 and 5, and that original y value becomes negative. Same thing with B, 5 and 7 now, but 5 becomes negative. That was my original y. Same thing here. 5 and 3, but now 5 is going to be negative.